Okay, so today's meditation is designed to benefit you greatly on your personal relationships, because peace will always start with you. You first have to find your inner peace so you can then shine bright and share this world rooted from a place of love instead of fear. First, I want to say thank you for all your comments, your good energy, and your willingness to be a conduit of peace for the collective. Our world is definitely in need of anything that we can do to aid and assist at this time of great confusion, conflict, violence, and pain. On our first part of the journey, we already recognize our place of perfect peace. This conscious recognition is of great importance because this is truly where all the answers that you're looking for resides, and the arena for your whole adventure. You have also explored the experiential knowingness of the notion that you are one with everything that surrounds you, that everything is connected. You are now ready for a new set of agreements and the relationships meditation. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story. In the last video, I was telling you about how my life has been a passionate one-way street for me to understand, assimilate, and communicate what I have to offer. I told you how it was a moment of crystalline clarity back in 1995, in which I was allowed to perceive that all paradox, all polarities, all dichotomies appeared to be blended and harmonized, and everything seemed to proceed or emerge from the same single source, the consciousness that I am. I want you to keep in mind that before this experience, I didn't believe in anything that I could not see, hear, touch, or smell. The word spirituality didn't even exist in my vocabulary. I was completely scientific. Death for me was the end of existence as we know it. So this eternal second, as I call it, the moment of my revelation, was pretty overwhelming to say the least. In an instant, my life was flipped upside down. It was completely unexpected, and I was overwhelmed by an experience that just blew my mind, heart and spirit wide open, in just one blow. In that eternal second, I had only time to think about three things, and I had a vision. The first thing that came to my mind was the image of a dog. I instantly understood the interconnectedness of all nature in our planet, the wonderful synchronicity and perfection of all ecosystem that is abundant with diversity and vibrant life as a gift for humanity to experience. Our home, our planet, Mother Earth, it was just beautiful. In one breath, I had communed with her, its heart, and all of its creations. Then, in a swift, the image of a crazy killer came to mind, and I instantly understood the struggle and strife of the human heart, the powerful race that we truly are, and the great ordeal and gift that is to be here in flesh, experiencing the great challenge of being in a dense body, a mass full of limitations and forgetfulness, all for the exploration and expansion of growth, joy, harmony, and love. Then, Jesus Christ came to my mind. Or I better say, He flooded my heart. And for the first time in my life, I understood what Spirit was all about. I understood that He was not saying, "Follow me, I am the light," but instead He was saying, "This is who you are, be like me." I could feel His light shining bright inside of every cell of my body. And I instantly recognized that this light is in the center of all human beings on this earth. I was lit with possibilities. I have found my purpose, my path, my light. This is why I can look into your eyes right now and tell you that I haven't stopped one day, one single day, in the need for me to assimilate, understand, put into practicality, and express what I know. This experience happened as I was awakening from a full night rest of sleep. I was camping with my girlfriend of the time, and I had invited my dad and mom to come with us. I know that it was because of my deep appreciation and love I was feeling for life in general, and especially that night, that I allowed myself to have such an experience. I jumped out of my sleeping bag, waking up my girlfriend in a moment of exhilarating enthusiasm for what had just happened. I simply could not control the tears of understanding, gratefulness, compassion, and sense of purpose and belonging for my life. I was in shock, and in my struggle of the moment to figure out and put into conceptual understanding what had just happened, one sentence came into my mind, heart, and soul. A sentence that not only had the ability to encapsulate everything that had just happened to me, but a sentence that will become the driving engine of my existence. And that is why it's also the driving engine and perspective of this experiment. Life is a dream. Since then, This sentence, this perspective, has been responsible for everything in my life. I was never going to be the same again. And although in that moment I could not stop the tears of understanding, oneness, compassion, gratefulness, and wholeness of being, the road ahead was going to be a very bumpy ride. So the next day I was already eagerly looking for some kind of information that could shed a light to my inner transformation. My spiritual journey had begun. Today I can clearly see that the moment I acknowledged to myself that life was a dream, I was automatically pulling myself out of the box of the conventional. I was now destined to live a life from a completely different perspective, from the spirit perspective. One in which I was not only responsible for everything that was happening in my reality, but I was left with the task to understand and assimilate the concept that reality is just an illusion, and I was the creator of it all. So I was separated from the status quo, and it was not an easy path. For a long time I felt alienated, unable to communicate what my heart and soul were now aware of. I remember that I became monothematic. I was always talking about the same one thing, the nothingness from where everything is born and it's all one, and it's all love, and we're spirits having a human experience, and everything is connected, and spirituality. But a frustration also started to build up. Because although I could definitely inspire people and my intellect was living in heaven, I could not find any practical application to my day-to-day interaction with my reality. Quite to the contrary, it seemed as my head was living in heaven while my feet were tripping in the ground. Because from my perspective, I didn't have an option. I knew the reason why I was here, but I needed to assimilate, and most importantly, I needed to grow and reclaim my own self-empowerment. 2 years after the experience, I sat down with my dad and told him to please give me 6 months to think about what I really want to do with my life. I was confused. At the time I was studying mechanical engineering at the most prestigious University of Colombia, Los Andes. I was following my dad's footsteps. But who are we kidding? After that kind of experience, this path didn't make sense anymore. I needed to find a path that could not only shed a light, but expand the exploration of what was happening to me. So he lovingly said, "Okay, Juan, you have 6 months to figure it out." I was jumping with excitement. I had already researched into Maharishi University of Management, which not only offered a conscious-based education with degrees in programs like in the arts, science, business, and humanities, but they had these huge golden domes where they all gathered to meditate. I also had a second choice in another university in South Africa, but most importantly, I had just read The Shamanic Way of the Heart by Chamalu, and I was inspired. A shaman from the Andes had built a spiritual garden in Peru, and he was now calling and inviting all free spirits to unite. So I knew exactly what was the first thing I wanted to do. I was going to pack my bags, my dog, my paragliding, and I was going to head towards Peru in my pickup truck. I was definitely ready to kickstart my spiritual journey. So right away, I went and bought a journal. And the first thing that I wrote was, here I'm going to write all the memories of my spiritual evolution in these 6 months ahead of me. I'm really excited to know that at the end of July, this journal will have things that I'm far away from imagining. Well, who will know that I was writing such prophetic words? 3 weeks after, I had a paragliding accident in which I broke my 2 feet, my 2 knees, and my back in 2 parts. That same night, when I was entering the operation room, I had 40% possibility of walking again. So, this is really how my spiritual path began. The next 6 months that I thought I was going to spend traveling on a spiritual journey all over South America, I had to spend them in bed with a body cast. The beautiful unconditional love and caring of my mom and my girlfriend really made my pain sustainable for me. Because it wasn't easy. I could not move, I could not go to the bathroom, I could not even turn around in my bed, and it was really painful. But I had the love and support that I needed to understand that probably the road ahead was not as I had envisioned it. That I had to open myself up to all kinds of surprises in my spiritual journey. And that was exactly what I needed at the time, because my spirit became stronger. And this was something that I would definitely need in my years ahead. Since the challenges in front of me were going to be much greater, and the search for my inner light was going to bring my spirit and body to my bare knees. So after 6 months of recovery, I could barely walk, and I was back in square one, in the last place I wanted to be. My heart and soul were full of light, but my reality was just meaningless. I was back in mechanical engineering, which seemed at this point that had nothing to do with what now I wanted for me in my life. The next 2 years were really hard. I could not tell my dad to give me another 6 months. This was one of the most expensive universities of Colombia, and he worked really hard. So it seems as I was walking a street with a cane towards a dead end. I needed to do something, but I didn't know what. But I will continue my story in the next video. Let's now jump to our 2 new agreements for this, our infinite journey for peace. Okay, so by now you're already willing to look inside yourself for the answers. And you now have an intellectual or experiential recognition that you are one with everything that surrounds you. You're now ready for the third and most important agreement of all. Most probably, you're already aware of the law of attraction and you're already living your life from this perspective. You've accepted and embraced the idea that it's through your thoughts, beliefs, and actions that you attract life experience. You're also an action-oriented individual, and the desire to manifest the material things and relationships that you want has been the main application for the law of attraction in your life. But have you stopped to really ponder the implications and possibilities of this new paradigm? Have you noticed how this perspective puts the individual in the center of his or her own universe? It's planet Earth that malleable, meaning it has the capability to manifest, organize, and orchestrate everything in order to please everyone's wishes at the same time? What will be then the structure of reality for these laws to work for every single being on this planet all at the same time? What new definition of God do we need in order for it to fit into this picture? Why is it so difficult to put the law of attraction to work for us on a consistent basis? What is the true nature of our existence? What is the purpose of it all? And if this is just the beginning, then what's next? You probably heard it many times before, from different sources. Throughout history, numerous philosophers, visionaries, and spiritual leaders have described reality as an illusion. The most prominent minds of our time affirm it is, and actually this concept is one of the oldest ideas recorded in human history. Today, this idea is reestablishing in our mass agreed upon reality. The number of movies, books, and all kinds of artistic expression that revolves around it are endless. Well, after many years of walking my own path and figuring things out in my own way, I can tell you that the full acknowledgement of the idea that life is a dream will ignite a tremendous shift in perspective. A good analogy is when you're dreaming at night, you're a dreamer who doesn't know it's dreaming. You're limited by your own perspective. But when you realize you're dreaming, you are now awake within the dream. A complete new dimension of consciousness and reality has come into play. Living life from this perspective will not only automatically invite you to function as a self-empowered conscious creator, full of compassion, creativity, joy, love, and self-expression, but it will also bring all the teachings of the greatest spiritual masters to the forefront of all human interaction. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because it wouldn't make sense not to. This perspective finally untangles the complexity that has limited the understanding of the different concepts surrounding our spiritual nature, and open the gates to a mass recognition of our highest potential as spirits having a human experience. This is just an experiment. I'm not here asking you to set aside your system of belief or try to convince you of anything. Treat all of this as a new experience, as your experiment, as a game, as a journey. The most important thing you can do to extract positive things out of all of this is to have an attitude of play. Just play along and see what happens. Make it your own personal experiment. See if this approach can generate some kind of positive results for you in your reality. Today, in your meditation, you will have a first-hand experience on how powerful this perspective can be when applied to one aspect of our practical day-to-day interaction with our reality. You're going to see how our personal relationships are enhanced for the positive when you look at this reality from the perspective that life is a dream. And this is a vital element to this experiment, since peace will always start with you. So if you're currently having some challenges with any kind of relationship, be it on your work environment, family, or a romantic one, this will come very handy. Okay, now before I introduce the fourth agreement, here are a couple of spiritual concepts we have to be aware of in order to play the game. This is the part of you that it's aware of you, but you are not aware of it. It's the same analogy as when you go to sleep at night and suddenly you are having a wonderful dream, but you are never aware of the dreamer. This is the awakened self of who you are. This is who you want to become. This is why all of this experience is really all about remembering, awaken. Because he, she knows why you're here. It's your highest expression. He, she is in the mountaintop, or you're exploring the murky waters of physical reality. Anytime you're doing what you love the most, or you're quieting your mind, you're opening a conduit of communication with your higher self. The game now is to accelerate our vibration so we can ascend from third density to fourth. Well, fourth density is where you become one with your higher self. In other words, to be more of who you know yourself to be, to follow your joy, to lighten up. In the moment when you decide who you are and you commit fully to that idea, when you trust who you are and fearlessly, continuously act in that way, you are being a conscious creator which is expressing fourth density consciousness. And here is when joy and true freedom is felt and expressed. Synchronicity abounds because now you're able to recognize how all the dots seem to connect in your life. And you start to awaken when you realize experientially, knowingly, fully, that the reality that you thought you existed within, it truly exists within you. In other words, we start to open our spiritual eyes when we see ourselves as the reality we once thought we were just a component of. Removing the idea of unconscious, removing the idea that life is happening to you, and recognizing the idea that life is happening from you, through you. Recognizing that you are the creator, the actual interaction, the actual process. You are the experience you're having. For thousands of years, we have forgotten that we are indeed the creators of our own reality. So we have learned to assign someone else with our responsibilities. And we have developed a society based on victims and perpetrators, on blame and separation, on conflict and pain. The fourth agreement is the complete acknowledgement that more than an attractor, you are the creator. And if you're still watching this, it's because this information belongs to you. I'm just a reflection of your willingness to remember more about who you truly are. But all of this is your creation, because you are the dreamer, you are the dream, and you're in the middle of the most exhilarating adventure ever, you and yours to be. So from now on in your adventure, you have to take full responsibility of everything that is happening in your reality. Everything. In other words, the blame game is over. Over, since you can't change what you don't own. You have to acknowledge that all of it is your creation. You're now responsible for everything in your reality. And if you want to change anything, you first have to change yourself. In the next video and set of agreements, we'll be starting the shift to our energy to planetary service. We're going to explore the nature of duality, the integration of darkness, and the release of judgment, which is of paramount importance on our journey to inner peace and spiritual understanding. So, enjoy the relationship meditation. It's going to help you greatly in your personal day-to-day interactions. And remember to do it at 8:18 p.m. your time, so you'll be connected to your group body and you can feel the power of the group consciousness in action. See you in perfect timing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your love.